Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gaming Daddy channel. So today I wanted to talk about a few things with Tom Clancy's The Division 2 because right now I see kind of a deja vu incidents going on, and I don't know how you categorize deja vu. Basically something that you feel has happened before but is happening again, or something similar is happening, whatever. What I'm seeing in the community since we've been talking about this Division 3 potential, with Red Storm changing their Twitter profile picture and all of that stuff, is there is some sort of excitement brewing in the community, and at the same time, there are still the dissatisfaction, sentiments as well still brewing up at the same time. And it reminds me of the end phase of the Division 1. For those of you who don't know, I've been covering Tom Clancy's The Division for about 4 years now. I started with Division 1 doing YouTube, and because I was already a Division agent, I felt it was natural to go ahead and just cover a game that I was already playing, with the aim of covering other games. But over the course of the years, I've just stuck with the Division, and there are a few things and a few reasons to that, which I'll try and get into in this video. But one of the really interesting things that we're seeing with all of this excitement is just the way the community is looking at this game and looking at the future potential. Seems like it's really telling that there's something quite attractive regardless of all of the issues with the Division game. And I've been trying to narrow it down, and I think I may be onto something. But if I'm off, just let me know in the comment section, but hear me out as I kind of walk my way through this. So I noticed with myself as a Division agent, huge Division fan, supporter of the game, even to the point where people baselessly say I'm shilling or I'm doing this or I'm deluded, all that stuff. It finally dawned on me that the games that I play the most share specific things and have a lot of things in common, and that is the realism that comes with those games. Now, let's start from what the heck I even mean by realism by highlighting the games that I've played the most. My 3 longest played games in general are the Division 1 as the game that I've played the most out of any other game, except maybe sports games. We're not going to count that. Then you have, following that, you have the Division 2, which is basically like my second or so. But in the middle of that, you have Mortal Kombat 11, which I actually, in a weird way, have more playtime on Mortal Kombat 11 than the Division 2. But I think it's from just leaving the AI to kind of farm credits for me on my PC. I think I finally narrowed it down because I was like, how do I have 500 hours on Steam? Maybe I do have 500 hours on Steam, but on my PlayStation 4, I have a few, I have a total of about 100 and something hours. You put that in together, it gets close to my Division hours. But these games all share the realistic aspect in terms of art design, character, depiction, and all those other things that add to a realistic world. The world as well, the way the games are written and their setting are in a realistic world. Yes, Mortal Kombat more fictional in the story and and all that, but then in the fighting, it is, in my opinion, more realistic than Tekken. The only thing that makes me not play Tekken is a 3D, 2D game. So it's a little more challenging to learn. Mortal Kombat is straight up 2D, two-dimensional. So that was quite easier for me to pick up. And so that sealed the deal as that being my fighting game. Now, I threw these 2 games out there as well because they're in different genres. Now, if I go back and even look at other games that I've also played, not as long, I started to just see a pattern. Many of them are third-person games. Many of them have a realistic setting. The only difference between them and the Division 2 or Mortal Kombat 11 is they're single-player, story-driven, narratives that have a beginning and kind of an ending. They don't have an extra grindy loop that comes with it. And so this kind of got me to saying, I think the realism is probably what is keeping me and perhaps most other players continuing to play the Division and the Division 2. If you look at the video clip that I'm actually using to, as my background, video, I purposefully picked the Unreal Engine reveal footage that they used. They actually created this interactive loop with basically a character and a section of some kind of an open world in order to depict the power of the Unreal Engine. And the very first thing I said was, if this is a video game, which I don't think it is, it's just an example, I would definitely be happy to play it. And I looked through my library and I have games like Tomb Raider that I've beaten, Uncharted, the God of War on PS4, and all these other third-person games that are set in realistic worlds. And I just see why The Division has to be one of the top games that I play, because it has some sort of a PvE endgame, and so it made so much sense to me. Now, I think this is what's clearly going to make me move on to a Division 3 with a lot of ease if that game actually does come out. Now, many people may say, but The Division is a game that's not satisfactory to me. I don't like these different aspects of the Division 1 or Division 2 or whatever. This other game that's a shooter game does this better. I get it. Call of Duty, Borderlands 3, Destiny 2, Warframe, all these other RPG shooters are out there, and they may do better things than The Division, but the one thing that none of them comes even close to is the realism that The Division actually does have. The Division 1 was set in New York City with basically a depiction of the segment of the city that they used, and The Division 2 was a one-to-one representation of Washington, D.C. The realistic nature of the open world and the characters, I think, basically are the highlight of this game. And what's sad is there are not a lot of companies that are actually doing this kind of world setting in order to actually leverage, how much of a potential it is. I think this is the reason Ubisoft games are generally quite successful. Then if you even move on further down the road to Ubisoft titles, you start to see this reflection of realism come into play, where you try to mimic, real life in your video games. And the very first thing is that environment, which is a big deal. For some, it may not be a big deal. You may say, well, it's not really a big deal. It's just kind of really nice looking, but that's all the game has going for it. That's all the game has going for it. Exactly. And that's why the game has that going and has the sequel going and 20 other sequels following it. In this case, Assassin's Creed. This is something that really does work out for this company, because they seem to have understood that that formula kind of works and it's able to keep gamers playing their games. Even in Far Cry, when they did the Far Cry first-person games, they also tried to set them in somewhat real, settings, or realistically depicted, or how do you call it, mimicked settings. If you look at maybe Far Cry 4, if they tell you the country of Far Cry 4 is Kyrat, you laugh and say, to me, I just feel like they're mimicking Nepal. I mean, you don't have to really look far. I think Far Cry 5 was the one where they actually used a real location, because, in the U.S., I think, they have more freedom. And then they did maybe Ghost Recon and another, I think they did it in Colombia, where they had to actually make a statement saying this is a work of fiction. And then they even did, Far Cry 3, you could tell that it was on some island off some coast somewhere. But then if you look at Far Cry 6, after the depiction, no one needs to tell you that that is a country that is off the coast, or some country off of the coast of the southern United States, coastline, or even somewhere in South America. You don't have to be a genius to figure it out. And I think this is basically one of the things that Ubisoft is leveraging. If you don't like realistic games, or you don't care about the setting of the game, then it's definitely understandable. But if you find yourself in a position where you don't know what it is that Division actually does that keeps you continuing to play, look through your games library. It might be that there is a segment of gamers that want to play video games that are set in worlds that almost look, feel, and in a sense are experienced like, some version of real life, not too much out there. I couldn't play Borderlands, 3 for too long every time I logged in. Yes, I mean, I was willing to play it. I had some fun. I had an issue with my account at one point. But even when I decided to go back and start all over again, I just thought to myself, what am I even doing in this cartoon world? As fun as this game is, as loot heavy as it is, it doesn't really appeal to me in that sense. In the case of Destiny 2, I think what caught me was I couldn't see my character, even though we have humans and, the different, ethnicities in the game. It just necessarily didn't feel very natural in that sense. And then, when you're looking at other characters, the way everybody jumps and the gravity system in the game that just didn't do it for me. You know what I mean? I have to have a game where if I'm going to jump and glide or float, there has to be a reason for that. Taking case of, in the case of Batman, the Arkham games, he has a cape, is a superhero. It's already established that he can glide. And so, yeah, we're going to go with that, if you get what I mean. So I don't think the Division 2, is a game or a genre that's going to go away. I think for the fact that, there's a gaming segment of people who actually do want to play games like it, it's going to continue to stay around. Now, the excitement for the Division 3 is going to basically run off of that. And then there's more. I mean, I'm not saying that, only the realism. I'm just saying that, that's the main thing it has going for it. But then you have the other aspects. You have the sci-fi nature of it. You have the aspect of skills. You have the aspect of gear, enemy factions, all kinds of different RPG elements that may appeal to some people. Some may not. Some people say they hate the shooting in the Division and all those things. But already we're seeing realistic, weapons from almost real life that, that you see in movies or you see in, showcases of different ammunitions and different weapons in real life. And they even do the sound recording. I don't know if you guys know, they did the sound recording for a lot of the guns in the Division. They did them with real life versions of those guns. They went to a shooting range and they actually recorded them before they put them in the game. So these are some of the things that really does appeal to the community. And I think these are some of the things that are going to continue to make this franchise something that players continue to play. How many players play it? That's for the players to decide. Hopefully, God willing, we're here when the Division 3 comes out, or if a Division 3 ever comes out. But many of us are going to be happy to play it and engage in it. But that's pretty much my video. I wanted to just talk about the merit of the game itself, regardless of all of the different shenanigans that the game does go through. But no game is perfect. And that's one of the reasons you're going to hear me talking about this this game so far, as much potential as it may have, as many shortcomings as it may also have, and as much as there's been kind of a loss in the leadership direction of the game, it still has that one thing going for it. And I guess there are many people that can attest to that. So let me hear your thoughts in the comment section, like I said, just a second ago, and hopefully we'll see you in another one. Peace out.